What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here today, and today we are bringing you our Georgia preview prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach that goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of July. We are currently, I think, 87 away, so I know it's a bit of a stretch, but I really feel like we can get there. So help us get there so we can hit that monetization goal. That is our big goal for this month. Make sure you guys check out the description for links to our podcast, website, Patreon page, and also make sure you check out our College Football Roundup channel. I'll leave a card for that right here. We do that. We put a lot of exclusive type college football content out on that channel that we do with the football expert. I'll leave his card right here. Also, make sure you guys check out the description for ways to join our channel as a channel member. We appreciate you guys who are interested in that. And also make sure you check out our store if you want any merchandise. There should be a few products that are tagged to this video, but there will also be more if you click the link to our store, which you can find on our channel homepage and in our description. But let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So the two-time defending champions, the Georgia Bulldogs, they have won it, like I mentioned, the last 2 years in a row. And coming into this season, I really think they are the one team, that you can really pencil into the playoff. You have Michigan, who I think is a close second, but they have some tough games with Penn State and Ohio State. You have teams like USC, who you're skeptical of the defense. You have teams like Bama. What's going to happen with the quarterback position? You have teams like Clemson. How do they bounce back? A team like Tennessee, they lose a lot. A team like Notre Dame. I mean, you could go on and on and on. There's probably 15 potential candidates for the playoff this year. But Georgia, I feel like, is the only one you can really pencil in. And part of that is due to the weak schedule that they have. But still, they're a very talented team. They return 6 starters on offense, 7 on defense. They bring back probably the best offensive weapon in the country, other than the 2 Ohio State receivers, and that is Brock Bowers, who is by far the best tight end in the country and arguably could be already, top 5 tight end in college football history. Really the only question mark I really see with Georgia is the quarterback position, as Carson Beck will come in. Last year, 26 of 36, 310 yards, no picks, 4 touchdowns. And while I'm on him, make sure you guys check out my SEC quarterback rankings video if you haven't already. I'll leave a card right here for it. But he obviously has some questions. He's not proven, hasn't ever really done much in his career, but he's still very talented. I think he's going to do, fairly good for Georgia. And even if he doesn't, I think Georgia's still talented enough and with this schedule to win, 11, even go undefeated. So Georgia's definitely the team to beat coming into the season. Can they three-peat is the question. And let's go ahead and jump into the schedule. So week 1, they get UT Martin. This game's a win. No discussion needed for this one. Georgia will kill them. And the same thing in week 2 with Ball State. Another win for Georgia. They will absolutely demolish Ball State and UT Martin. But then you get South Carolina at home. I have this game as a win. I think Georgia will beat them, but this is definitely one of those games you can't sleep on. South Carolina and Georgia tend to play somewhat of close games in recent years. South Carolina beat them a few years ago. I think it's probably like 5-6 years ago now. But South Carolina did beat them. It might not have been that long ago, but point still stands. So this game I could see maybe like the Missouri game for Georgia last year and how they, kind of just overlooked them and about got beat, only beat Missouri last year 26-22 on the road. So I could see another one of those games in this one, but I still think Georgia wins. Then they get UAB. This game's a win. Again, much like Ball State and UT Martin, no discussion needed here. Georgia is going to absolutely roll in this game. Then they go on the road to Auburn. This is a win. Auburn is not a very good team. I think Georgia is just more talented, better coached, all of the above, everything. Georgia is just so much better than Auburn is. And Georgia will absolutely demolish the Auburn Tigers. Then they get Kentucky at home. I have this game as a win. This is another one I think could be a somewhat closer game, but not really. Kentucky only lost to Georgia last year by 10, 16-6. This is a game where I could see if Kentucky is able to replace their talent that they had last year with similar talent. This is a game I could see being a little bit closer, but I still don't really see a path for Kentucky to be able to win. Then they go on the road to Vanderbilt. This is a game that when you look at both of these schedules, Vanderbilt could potentially be coming into this with one or two losses, maybe even undefeated if this season is insane like people think. But I still don't think any of that matters. Georgia will absolutely crush Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's getting slightly better, especially talent-wise, but they're still not anywhere near the level they need to be able to compete with a team like Georgia. Then they get the bye week. Then they go to Jacksonville to play the big rivalry matchup with the Florida Gators. And I have this game as a win. I think Florida is going to be – I think they're one of the teams that could really – nobody really knows. They could finish worst, dead last in the East, but they could also finish, third or fourth in the East. Don't really know what's going to happen with them. But I do know that Georgia is going to absolutely blow the doors off of Florida in Jacksonville. They beat them 42-20 last year down there, and Florida's a worse team than they were last year. And I could see Georgia, putting 50 on them like they did against LSU and beat them by 30-plus points. Then they get Missouri, like we mentioned earlier, the team that played them a little bit close. Missouri is going to be a better team this year, but I don't think that matters. I don't think Georgia will be unprepared for them this time and just kind of look over them. I think Georgia wins, and I think it's going to be about 20-plus points. I just see Georgia, absolutely smoking them. But then Georgia gets the two toughest games that they've had that they will have on this schedule. One at home, one on the road, the first one being Ole Miss at home. But I think Georgia gets the win here. I think Ole Miss defense is just so bad that even if their offense is able to constantly score on this Georgia defense, all Georgia has to do is get 3 or 4 stops and they win the game. And that's it. They just have to get 3 or 4 stops and don't beat themselves, and they have the win. And so I think that they will beat Ole Miss, by 17-plus points. I think it'll be close for about a quarter and a half, if that. I really don't even know if it will be for that. But I think that Georgia will beat Ole Miss pretty handily. Then they go on the road to Tennessee. This is the big game, and once again, Georgia is going to crush Tennessee. I have them winning this game. They beat them by 2 touchdowns last year. If you watch that game, it was a lot. Georgia won that game by a lot more than the scoreboard showed. They just completely dominated Tennessee in every aspect, and I expect them to do that again. I will say this game being at the end of the season definitely helps Tennessee a little bit more because they have a lot more stuff they need to figure out than Georgia does. So that does help Tennessee a little bit more, but nothing that will matter. Georgia will just physically dominate Tennessee and just beat them again like they did the past 2 years that this game has been a big game. Then they close out the season with the rivalry game at Georgia Tech. I have this game as a win. Georgia Tech is awful. Georgia will have absolutely no problem here with the Yellow Jackets, so a big win there. And I have Georgia going 12-0 for the 3rd straight year in a row, back into the college football playoff, I would imagine. And maybe, winning a 3rd straight national championship. We will see, but Georgia is definitely the kings of college football right now. How long that will last, I really don't know. But, yeah, Georgia's on top for right now, and I expect this coming season that they will be number 1 basically the entire season. But that wraps up today's video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment those thoughts and opinions down below. I hope to see you guys on another video, and I hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you guys next time.